Three, two, one. Welcome to the Lightforge. This is Booked Up.
This is Merps. Once again, hope your quarantine is treating you well. My gosh, you need a haircut, dude.
I do
You
not need a
seriously
haircut.
need
Do
a
not put ideas into Brand New's head. She's been wanting to cut my
You
hair for weeks now.
you definitely need a haircut. Natasha cut my hair. At least
Your hair
like
looks good.
trim the edges and the back to make sure that I don't, look
Does she like actually know how
terrible.
to cut hair?
No, but she, has an eye and pays attention. So
Oh no, my
does an
haircut.
adequate
My
job.
haircut, if Brand New tries to cut, is gonna look worse than this. I promise you. Because I have a weird
Okay.
hair, not hair. I have a weird skull shape situation going on that you can't see because of my excellent haircut.
Well, no. It doesn't even matter what you're. At least she can trim, the back and the sides a little to cut down on the cheetah pet thing that's going on lately.
Yeah, like a
That
like a
that's
chia
it's
pet that people
terrible.
pay money for.
I don't know, man. It's really terrible. And look, when is this quarantine ending? It's not ending anytime soon, right? We're looking at like
Okay,
a
how is it where you
while.
are? Because where I am in Charlotte, people like walk their dogs 10 times a day now just to like get out, and like everyone is everywhere, like outside. Like the supermarkets are like packed. Like, I mean, people are working from home and stuff is shut down, but where stuff is not shut down, it's like crazy busy.
I don't really know. Well, so we don't go to the grocery store. We've just been ordering off Instacart, right? We've been ordering off Instacart, and we did go walk Iggy today. Like we decided to drive to a park and see how it was, and there were quite a few people. Although they, there were quite a few people at that park, but they did do a very good job of like no one got close to each other. Almost everyone was wearing a mask, and if they were about to intersect, like in a path,
Mm-hmm.
one person would walk out of the way, like to keep the social distancing and everything.
Yeah,
But
no, we
other than
wave to
that,
each other, say hello. Like this is it's different here, I guess. um,
you mean it's
so I
irresponsible
I
where you
I
are?
feel like the quarantine's not gonna end like I feel like the numbers because the quarantine ends when the numbers like level off and your hospitals are like free-ish so that you can handle new cases, right? I feel like we're just gonna keep rising because I don't think our hospitals are like filled yet. So at least for us, I don't expect this quarantine to end anytime soon.
Yeah,
Like my prediction is Labor Day.
for a lot of places, they because they're modeling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the models say that for quite a few places, it won't get bad until the end of this month,
Yeah.
or maybe even later on. So some places have already been hit really hard,
Mm-hmm.
and for them, it's sort of yes, this is the worst of it right now. Other places, especially in the South, they're like the worst is yet to come. So
Or hear me out. It's gonna be summer, and then it'll disappear like a miracle.
oh, yes,
That's what
like a
I'm holding on
miracle.
to. That's what I'm
That's a
holding on
miracle.
to.
I mean, that is what the president said.
And
So
you don't know that he's wrong.
I don't know that he's
No
wrong,
one knows whether he's right
100%.
or wrong. This is
I mean,
this is up to the people who grant miracles to determine later on.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Like the people that nerf demon hunters. Anyways,
Oh, that was okay.
that was so
Let's
so
get back to
yeah.
Hearthstone. Let me just
I know.
outline what's happened for the last what's it been like 4 days, 5 days since they released the game. So they released the game, and if you've been living under a rock slash just not playing this game, Demon Hunters were crazy. Dominated constructed, dominated wild, dominated arena, and we're talking dominated arena like more than 60% win rate. So within 24 hours, or like around 24 hours, a little after 24 hours, like maybe 26 hours, they nerfed Demon Hunter.
They
Like
nerf demon hunter.
in 26 hours. And they nerfed it. We'll go over the nerf specifically, but they only nerfed 4 cards. But along with those changes, and this is like super quick action, like Ixar and like the whole team was like on top of it. They also hand nerfed the offering rates for like every single like 15 of the top Demon Hunter cards. So I
Yes.
don't know what the rates are now compared to what they were before. Like I don't know how much they got nerfed, but it definitely had an effect. And between the nerfs and the offering rates, Demon Hunter win rates are now 55% instead of 60%. If you're wondering, no other class is anywhere near there yet. It still needs another nerf. Blizzard knows they need another nerf. They've already announced that another round of nerfs is coming at the end of next week. So we're still waiting for that. But right now, if you haven't stepped into the meta yet, it is a mess. It is less of a mess than it was on day one, but it is still a freaking mess.
It's a mess. And I will say that these days I'm not playing Arena anymore. I played 4.5 because I have an open run, still ongoing. Uh, I played that many number of runs in the new meta, and I was like, nope, I'm done. And it wasn't just because of Demon Hunter or anything, because Demon Hunters got nerfed, and even when people were talking a lot about, it's like, oh, this is unprecedented 60% win rate. We've had 60% win rate classes for the first day.
Yeah.
Like, we've had 60% win rate classes for an extended period of time, if no one remembers the Hunter days in which so if you're talking about oppressiveness in terms of just win rates, Hunters were 60% like for weeks. For quite I think it was for a period of 2 weeks before they stepped in, and they were just like, okay, well, we actually have to do something about it. So yeah, and right now Demon Hunter sits at 55% ish, I believe, which is expected in a meta for the top class. So still powerful, not like this is pretty much expected. Like in any meta, one class is gonna get to 55%. But no, the swings are terrible.
Well,
God,
I mean,
so
after they do micro adjust, it's usually like 53% rather than 55,
yeah,
which is like half, like, like doubly better than where it is right now. But for an unmicro adjusted, like basically at this point in time, after any expansion release, it's never better than this in terms of class balance.
Yeah,
because they did a micro adjust in like a day for one class, but still, that was the class that mattered.
Yeah, definitely. And if you think it was just because of Arena, no, Demon Hunters were terrorizing Constructed. Like, because the numbers were so comical in that in Constructed and Arena, it was the only class above 50%. That number is terrible for Constructed because you at least have a choice in Constructed of what you play. So everyone was playing Demon Hunter, and it was bullying every other class in Constructed by so much. No one had a chance, and everyone was still playing Demon Hunter, and it still had that absurd of a win rate, even though its own, like the win rate against itself wasn't really bringing it down. So yeah, it's just really dumb.
And if you check HS Replay right now, Demon Hunters are still #1 in Constructed and Wild, and of course Arena. Most egregiously still Arena, even though they did extra stuff in the Arena to even bring down the win rates more by reducing the offering rates. So it still needs work, and Blizzard knows, and they've already announced that they're gonna work on it. So we should expect a patch on Friday to further address Demon Hunter issues. But if you're wondering whether how this affects everything, here's how Demon Hunters work. It's kind of how everybody thought. How if you didn't like listen to the 8 hours of like Ashes of Outlands preview we basically outlined something very like straightforward for Demon Hunters. You listen to the Lightforge before this last one, the one that's basically about Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters are fast. They're all tempo. All their basic initiative cards pushes the tempo. They're going to be much better at it than any other class, including Hunter. And they're going to just really set a new pace in the meta. But then, in Ashes of Outlands, all the neutral cards and all the class cards and the whole Year of the Dragon coming in is going to create... I still have this. It's going to create... Here were my predictions. Highest swing ever, strong curve, doesn't matter, big taunts and heals, and games are long. All of those are completely true if you're not facing a Demon Hunter. And we said, when we were making these predictions, that Demon Hunters are going to be the exception to this, but we didn't think that Demon Hunters were going to be like the best class, because this meta is not very good for Demon Hunters.
It is not.
We were wrong about how powerful Demon Hunters are. And two, I did not take into account the fact that if everybody plays Demon Hunters and Demon Hunters all play a certain way, then the meta is not a normal meta, and that Demon Hunters actually set the meta, and whatever kind of game Demon Hunters are playing becomes the meta. So the meta for the first day was just demon hunters and nothing to do with the rest of the Ashes of Outland.
Well, I think we knew that people were gonna play. So a lot of what we did is
Well,
just
we
gonna
didn't
be,
know it was
we
going to
even
be
said
60% win rate. That's what sets the pace for the meta. If just
sure,
everybody
yeah.
wanted to play it, that's not going to set the tone for the meta.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of those things, and what we said at the end as well. We're like, okay, a lot of these predictions, we're like, this is not exactly for day
Yeah.
one because everyone day one is gonna play Demon Hunter. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things. So even it's like we are accounting for um you know people's preferences but not to the extent that everyone's just gonna like spam Demon Hunter, retire until they get Demon Hunter. So your entire arena experience is literally just Demon Hunter,
So
and that was day one.
during day one, there were more demon hunters than was possible to be offered because people were retiring runs and because people had like free tickets from the Battlegrounds
Hmm.
package that had arena tickets that were just retiring until they got a demon hunter. Now the current stats for the last 28 hours, I mean since the patch, so not the last 28 hours, like the last like 3 days, demon hunters are seen at a rate 3 times what they should be if all classes are picked evenly, which means you're no longer retiring. Like people aren't just retiring to get demon hunters, or at least the amount of people just retiring decks to get demon hunters is about equal to the number of people who see demon hunters being offered and pick another class. And everybody else, just whenever you see a demon hunter, you pick a demon hunter. So that's where we're at right now. And the numbers are crazy. Like if you look at like the least popular class, the least popular class is warrior, and it is seen approximately 6% the amount of times a demon hunter is seen. 6%.
Yeah.
So we're not in a balanced meta is kind of what we're getting at. Now, as the game gets more balanced and we reflect back at what the card pool is actually offering, you're going to see all these, and you already do see all of these points that are still like true whenever you don't have a demon hunter. Even when you do have a demon hunter, it's still the highest swing ever. Strong curve doesn't matter. Well, with demon hunters, it kind of does matter. But for everyone else facing each other, it really doesn't matter. And big taunts and heals, that's going to be the case. If you're facing against a demon hunter, you want to have big taunts and heals. If you are in a non-demon hunter match where you are a class against another class, the big taunts and heals really come into play. And then games are long. Games are very long for all classes besides demon hunters, which really shortens the game. So that's kind of where the meta's going. And the meta will get there after Blizzard does a actual round of micro adjusts in at the end of Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, and with big taunts and heals, especially, if you anticipate facing a lot of demon hunters as well, note that they don't have like this one
Mm-hmm.
hard removal card, right? They have like the
Coil
Coil
Fang.
Fang,
Yeah.
but they don't have a polymorph. They don't
Right.
have a hex. They don't even have like a deadly shot kind of thing. A lot of what they do, and once they adjusted down the offering rate of Coil Fang, you should be able to at least somewhat play around and know that, okay, if I put down this 10 health taunt, more often than not, they're going to have to be very honest about removing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like if you are drafting with Demon Hunters in mind, you can, like sort of set your deck up enough to survive them. And I think people are catching on to this right now as well.
Yeah. Demon Hunters have to do everything honestly, and by honestly, I mean something like 1.2 to 1.3 times as effective as everyone else. So honest
Mhm.
is not exactly a fitting description, but they don't have the hard removals. They do have a silence, but that again, it matters, but it's not exactly the same.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even the coil fangs are a little iffy to use, and they're 8 mana. Um, so yeah. The game right now, the meta is basically split between two kinds of games. One is a game in which, and we're going to start with just assuming you're not using Demon Hunter. So if you're not using Demon Hunter, you are either going to face a Demon Hunter or face a not Demon Hunter. As you climb, you're going to see more and more Demon Hunters and less not Demon Hunters. But when you're starting out, you're going to see mostly not demon hunters, and because people are only offered demon hunters like a certain percentage of times. Okay, so now in games against demon hunters, you need to just like play all the freaking tempo you can possibly freaking play. Curve is not like the most important thing, but it's obviously really good tempo, and it's likely the best tempo that you have in the early game. So demon hunters are very good at reestablishing themselves on the board, and they're very good at removing all your stuff because they have exact damage removal for everything. But at least you're giving them something to do that is not attacking your face. Because if you don't give them something else to do, they're going to attack your face and you're going to die very quickly. Which is something that they're very good at. So if you're facing a demon hunter, just get to the late game. And keep in mind that they do have this card that's probably the most annoying card, which is Priestess. And that one, if you can't remove once it gets on the board, you're just dead. So always make sure you have something. Priestess comes in on turn 7. So make sure by turn 7 you have a hard removal or 7 damage from your hand. Because what's happened to me so often, and when I say so often, I mean like 100% of the time, even though it should only happen 40% of the time, because that's how RNG works. If you have one target and your face, the Priestess on average should only hit the target 3 times. But in reality, the Priestess hits the target 100% of the time and doesn't hit your face. And so you have nothing to remove the Priestess with. So don't pretend that you're like 6/6 on the board is safe against the Priestess. It's not. It's gonna die.
You know, the worst part about something like that is that ever since Nat the Darkfisher was fixed,
oh yeah,
people have these conspiracy theories, and you can't quiet them. Well, for good. It's like here's the thing, right? It's like if the U.S. government, like after all these years of alien conspiracies, like was like actually yes, there was this one time in the 70s where we completely lied, erased everyone's memories because of aliens, but that was it. After that happens, after the government does something like that and admits it, you're like, wait, whoa. So there's like tens of other times, including this incident, right? They're like, no. It was just one time where we erased your memories because of aliens. That was it. You're like, no, you can't quiet any of the conspiracy theories past that point. And I feel like after
Nat the Darkfisher. So if people don't know, Nat the Darkfisher, for a period of time that was like actually about a month, it took him a while to fix it. Nat the Darkfisher drew 100% of the time.
It wasn't 100. It was like it was
really high. It was like
it wasn't 50. It wasn't 50.
It was like more than 75. It was like almost always.
I think it was like 80 or 90 or something like that.
But yeah, so they eventually fixed it. To be fair, like we are not conspiracy theorists of the Priestess variety, and I am not a conspiracy theorist because I have played a lot of Demon Hunter. I have used Priestess. Whenever I use Priestess, it hits my target once. My target has 2 health, it hits it once. That's what always happens, and then I die. And I go, oh, the RNG, and then I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Not play Priestess, right? Like, not pretend it's gonna hit my target at least twice out of the 6 hits? No, I can't do that. I just accept the loss. And so that's another thing you're gonna realize when you face Demon Hunters. And this is even more true if you're Demon Hunter against Demon Hunter. But Demon Hunters are huge RNG. They are the most RNG class in the entire game right now, because and this is not just because they have RNG inside their cards. They actually have very few cards that have any RNG inside their cards. Priestess is, if not the only example, one of the only examples. But your Demon Hunter experience is going to vary dramatically depending on your draw order, your card draw order. Yes. And your card draw order is entirely random because that's how this game works. But other classes all care about card draw order, but for Demon Hunters, it's accentuated. Like, the biggest RNG in the game is accentuated even further. It's like, imagine you're playing Magic the Gathering, and they're like, we're going to make you land screwed 50% more often. But if you don't get land screwed, you're going to do really well. You're like, oh, well, I've just, you've just inserted a ton of RNG into this deck. So that's what Demon Hunters are. Because they need the early game in order to deal damage to your face, or else they can't deal damage to your face, and then they don't really have like insane card advantage, especially after Skull of Gul'dan offering rate got nerfed. Um, and not only do they need the early game, but they also need to be able to play their outcast cards when they are like in their hand. Because if you don't play your outcast cards, they get like stuck in the middle of your hand, and then your insanely good card becomes a subpar card, and that's a huge difference. Like for Demon Hunter cards without outcast, they would be rated like an 80 or a 70. For Demon Hunter cards that has an outcast happen every single time, they're all going to be rated like a 150 and above. So that's like a ridiculously huge difference in the power levels. That's just based on when you draw the card and whether you can reasonably play the card on that turn.
Yep.
So it's just an insane amount of RNG. And it you don't think of it that way usually because you don't think because there's no cards outside of Priestess that actually have any like randomness to the cards, but they accentuate the draw order so much. Um,
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you hit the curve perfectly, if you get all of your temple cards, and then you're able to play Skull of Gul'dan on what used to be 5 and now 6, that's a huge win. Like, you just roll over your opponent so freaking hard. Um, but yeah, it can become pretty awkward if you're not able to chain your outcasts together, or even just play your outcast cards when you really want to play them. um, your power level definitely goes down a decent amount. Not to say that you're bad, because I think when a lot of people hear that, it's like, oh, Demon Hunter is sort of RNG dependent. It's like, well, no, but they're really powerful. They can be powerful and still be RNG dependent.
yeah.
It's like,
What being powerful and RNG dependent or being powerful but swingy means is that they're better for worse players and worse for better players. If you look at all the people who still stream Arena right now and play Demon Hunters, no one's getting an insanely high win percentage with Demon Hunters. And that's not
relative
because
to
yeah, relative to the actual win percentage of Demon Hunter. Like if you see a class that was like 60% win rate, you would expect like when Hunters were 60% win rate, streamers were averaging more than 10 wins per run with Hunters.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
because Hunters at the time was not a huge RNG class. Like you just draft your
No, it
secrets,
was.
you get your spell stones that you are guaranteed to have a couple of because how the offering odds are working, and then you win.
Yeah.
But with Demon Hunters, especially because you're also facing other Demon Hunters all the time, so your RNG is like, doubled for
Yeah.
each match. You're just not going to get that consistency. So when streamers should be winning 10 games on average with Demon Hunters when it was a 60% win rate, they were actually winning like 8 point something. And now they're winning like probably like 8, maybe even like less than that with Demon Hunters on average. And that's just because it's just a high swing kind of like high RNG class.
Mhm.
Um, so just know that Demon Hunters are not that good if you're a good player. They're still the best. I hesitate to say that any other class right now is better than Demon Hunters, but I think Priest may be close, if not already actually better for good players than
I
Demon
think
Hunters
people
are.
are figuring out that Priest is just really, really good for this sort of meta. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people are posting on Arena HS that Priest has been very good for them. And in terms of stopping the Demon Hunter aggression,
Oh,
I
it's the
think
best.
it is really, really good. And people are just learning to play. Like, we are nearing the point where people are actually learning to play around Demon Hunter. The first week or so is literally just like, if you're looking at all of the stats and people are talking about, it's like, oh, 60%, especially on the first day, being unprecedented or crazy. It's not only that it's not unprecedented. Um, when hunters were 60% for 2 weeks, that's when people actually knew the cards.
Mm-hmm.
um, this is a brand new class, and if you're listening to this, it might be surprising that people don't dig into all of the cards and analyze them and listen to different reviews from different streamers, and memorize all of the effects so that they're well prepared. People just don't know the cards at all. They don't know the class. They
They
jump
don't know
in.
to like avoid Coil Fang on 8, which you absolutely have to do. They don't know to like avoid like hulking Overseer, like if possible, even though that's really hard.
Well,
Um,
the thing is, people didn't even know the effect of cards. Like on the first day, uh, there were quite a few times in which someone could have removed my satyr, um, but just didn't know what it did, or they were just like, "Oh,
Mm.
this satyr thing, it's not that important."
It's only going to
Something like
generate you a
that.
free 2/2 every turn.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where I think now people are starting to not just know what cards and capabilities demon hunters have, but are finally kind of uh, trying to game plan around them. And Priest does such a good job of boxing them out
Hmm.
and boxing out other classes as well.
And
So
Priest
yeah,
also heals their face
yeah.
automatically, which is huge when you're dealing with an
Mhm.
aggressive class. And when I say aggressive class, I mean only Demon Hunter in this meta. So I think Priest may be challenging like the number one spot right now, but when the micro adjusts come in after next week, Priests are going to go down too because they're like by far the second best class. And if Demon Hunters are going to go down, like Priest actually naturally goes down a bit because they are super effective against Demon Hunters.
They are. At the same time, we'll see what it does, and because this is just a good meta for Priest,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
all
it is.
the
I
yeah,
predicted Priest to be number two behind Shaman in in my extremely non-scientific predictions of which classes are going to be best.
mhm.
Because the meta that I anticipated happening, which like I said, it's the case whenever there's no Demon Hunter involved still. That in that meta, Priest would do really well.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so that is some Demon Hunter tidbits and stuff. If you're following the tier list, we updated the tier list on day like within 24 hours of release of the game. Actually, within 12 hours of release of the game, because like as soon as I jumped in the game, I realized that we were doing something wrong with Dormant. It's not a huge deal, but all the cards went up like 6 to 8%. So if you were thinking, oh, you guys are rating Dormant a little low, like yeah, you're right. And something like Imprisoned, what's that neutral card? The one that's a
Biofiend.
Vile Fiend. Okay, so the Imprisoned Vile Fiend, for example, is now about where a Yeti is.
Okay.
And if you look at HS Replay stats, Imprisoned Vile Fiend is actually doing super well. It's like one of the highest win rate cards in the entire freaking game, like neutral side of the game right now. We still don't think it's that good. We just think people aren't playing around it yet. Like they're just not realizing what you can do to box out the fact that your opponent has told you two turns I will have a 3/5 rush.
Yeah, these are cards that really, the simpler a card is, and the less that people need game awareness to play them slash play around them, um, the more you're able to kind of trust stats. And with a card like this, because it revolves so much around game planning and then reacting accordingly, not only for the next turn, but the next turn and the next turn, in order for its effect to sort of be seen. It's one of those that I think, once again, people are just not really internalizing its effect. They're not playing around it efficiently. So it's something that I will keep an eye on the stats as well. But as for right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I don't put too much credit
Yeah.
in the statistics. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I don't know about you, but I've found myself being smarter about playing, like, about reacting to opponents playing dormant, as
Yeah.
the week went on. And as Merps was saying, people don't know certain cards. I found myself learning how cards work for the Demon Hunter as the week went on. If you've been watching me stream, you've seen many misplays where it was just I did not know what this card did, or this is an ability I associated with the card, like Skull of Gul'dan. But a Skull of Gul'dan's ability only works if it's outcast. And so I just spent a very critical turn drawing cards and doing nothing. We still won. We were Demon Hunter. But but that was a terrible turn. I was like, okay, this is the big turn. I need this to go well. Wish me luck. And I play it, and I'm like, why are these all 4 mana cards that are coming in instead of 1 mana cards?
Yeah. This is one of the reasons that I don't trust statistics. You have someone who actually looked at the cards And I understand nothing is really normal about Adwicta in any capacity, but you had this person who looked at the cards, is responsible for evaluating it, and still he makes this. I mean, it really makes me lose faith in human society in general, right? So yeah, yeah, this is one of those reasons why I'm just like, I think people just need a little bit of time to play around with it, to get
Hmm.
used to it, especially with a new class, new cards, etc., etc.
Yeah. I forgot what else. There were two other Demon Hunter cards where I just like totally did not realize what the text said when I was playing with it. And obviously resulted in it. So the difference between like having to attack before or having to attack after you play a card, because Demon Hunter has
Oh my
both.
god.
Like,
Yes.
why? Why would you do something like that? That's so silly. Like Blizzard, that's not user friendly at all and serves no gameplay purpose.
I mean,
Yes. Okay, Legend Heart in our chat says Glaive Bound Adept. I played it and then I hero powered and I was like, wait, shouldn't it have dealt 4 damage to something? And I was like, oh no, the thing I need to remove on the board. Again, I'm pretty sure we won that game because we were Demon Hunter, but that was not a good look.
well, Clave Bound to Death makes a lot of sense because you have to target it once you drop it, right? Like you don't want the game to it's like suddenly you attack and then it's like, "Oh, hey, what do you want to target by the way?" Like the game just doesn't do that.
Yeah, yeah, I get
So
it,
that
but it's
actually makes
not.
sense.
It makes
So
sense
you
from a
saying it makes no
technical
sense,
perspective. It makes no
it
sense
actually
from.
makes a lot of sense.
It made me misplay it in a stupid way, and that made me feel bad. And I'm a player, and Blizzard should cater to its players and making its players feel good, right? That's like the core of all Blizzard decision making. And I can't be
Uh-huh.
the only one. I cannot be the only one who makes that mistake and feels really bad. Now I
No, I'm
learned.
sure.
I learned. I didn't make that mistake ever again so far. Um,
Okay, uh-huh.
so I guess it wasn't like the worst learning experience. But yeah. Um, so okay, so that's Demon Hunters. Let's go over. And we were talking about the tier list and the pet day one changes. So yeah, so all the imprisoned cards went up a bit, including uh, like the cards that were already rated higher obviously went up by more points because it's by percentage. So imprisoned Gennard, by the way, is a 241 now. It's just freaking insane. And if you ever played with the card or seen it played against you, you know it's worth every one of those freaking points. It's just insanely game swinging. Now Warriors still blow, but this card is insane.
Imprison Gnar, it's one of those cards in which there are very few cards in the history of Hearthstone in which they drop it on turn one and you immediately just feel broken. Like my options are so limited. I need to claw back significantly if they drop it on turn one. And yeah, that's exactly how it like the difference between facing a warrior that doesn't have it turn one versus someone that has it on turn one. Um, Night and day is an understatement. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've played a few warriors, and when they have it out on turn one, I think I won once, but it was an incredible struggle. It was a ridiculous struggle. When they didn't have, I just like blew them out of the water with whatever class I had, just
Yeah,
because it just wasn't enough. And if they're playing on turn two, it doesn't really matter. It actually gets in the way of some of their plays. But if they play on turn one, it's so crushing. It's so stupidly broken um, that yeah, in all my experience playing Hearthstone in every single meta, not a single one drop has had the effect that Imprisoned Gennard has
not a
had.
single one drop has had
Not a single
half
one drop.
of
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
impact that Imprisoned Gennard had.
No, it's actually ridiculous. Because we've had metas in which one drops were good. Like
Yeah,
Zombie Chow was
Zombie Chow
good,
was amazing.
very
Everyone
good.
wanted
Yeah,
it. It was super premium. It probably would have been rated a 150 at the time.
yeah. But no, no, no. If you think that Zombie Chow like approached anything close to the pressure and the stupid tempo that Imprisoned Gennard gives, you're no, like, well, the math just proves you wrong. Um,
Also, Zombie Chow was like really bad later on, whereas Imprisoned Gennard is like fine later on.
it's still fine later on. It's just, yeah. So yeah, Imprisoned Gennard is in any meta we've ever seen, by far the best and most impactful one drop.
Hmm.
It's so stupidly broken, and the fact that if a warrior drops on turn one, your chances of winning as an opponent drop significantly, which is really dumb. Let's
Yeah.
face it. Yeah.
So the other Demon Hunter card that we revised up because we were looking through and we like had a more sophisticated interpretation of what the card actually did is Wrathspike Brute. We had it at a 117, which is pretty high. That's like especially in Demon Hunter, that's like a really good card because in Demon Hunter everything's like a bit lower because they have really good cards. And now it got 9 points. It's at 126 now, which really brings it into premium territory. And because it is a premium card, um, and this is a card that people will get better playing around it, like rather reacting to it. But even still, it forces so many awkward situations. Um, so I think there's a segment of people out there right now that think that this card's like a 150. By the way, Priestess is like a 160 or something like that. So 150 would be really high. Um, and I think that's just reacting to people not knowing how to play it when this card hits the board. Uh, and that will change. Like this card's going to get worse, not better, as like in terms of your experience. Um, and yeah, and there are at least 3 more cards in Demon Hunter that's slated to be moved up by somewhere between 5 and 10 points. I don't know, maybe I don't think more than that. And those are so any card that involves using a hero power for Demon Hunter is going to be moved up by a little bit because we're just getting a more sophisticated system into the algorithm to deal with the Demon Hunter hero power. We thought we could just adjust the old system and it'll be fine, but now looking at like what the assumptions are and how it's lining up, it's we're making it more sophisticated than like the old system worked fine for the other hero powers, but the Demon Hunter one kind of exponentially exploits any kind of like rounding errors and just like assumptions and things. So we're digging deeper into it. So those are all going to go up by a little, and the ones that have repeat triggers, namely the Satyr, is going to go up quite significantly.
Satyr is ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah,
that card is so flexible, so
like
good.
we have it at like a 136 right now or something like that, and it's better than that. It,
I would agree with that. Satyr is ridiculous. Yeah.
it's just
Um,
premium. Um, and the one last card, the Hulking Overfiend, is gonna get raised by like 10 points or something, um, because we were not doing that mechanic in a very sophisticated fashion, and it worked fine for Batterhead, but when it translated into Hulking Overfiend, it was underestimating its ability a little. So those are the upcoming changes. There's also going to be the normal like adjustment to the meta changes that we make, where it affects every single card by like a few points. I don't know how much it'll show up, but we do that once we actually get a feel for the meta. And so that'll happen as well. I don't know when all these changes are going to actually hit the live servers for our tier list, but I'm hoping sometime next week. Maybe it'll get pushed to the weekend and go in with the next round of nerfs. But in addition to that, let's talk about the 4 actual nerfs that have already happened to Demon Hunter cards. Do you want to
yeah.
kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So these are the day one changes to the Demon Hunter cards. What they did was Skull of Gul'dan mana cost was increased from 5 to 6. So now it's 6 mana, draw 3 cards, and Outcast reduced their cost by 3. Imprisoned Antane, the mana cost increased from 5 to 6 as well. So now it's 6 mana, a 10/6 Dormant Demon. It's dormant for 2 turns. When it awakens, it deals 10 damage, randomly split among all enemies. Beam, the Outcast mana has increased from 0 to 1, which means that it's now the base is still 3 mana for Lifesteal, deal 3 damage to a minion, but instead of Outcast having it cost 0, it costs 1. And then finally, Eldraki Warblades, the durability decreased from 3 to 2, so now it's 3 mana cost for a 2/2 weapon that has Lifesteal. So you're missing that final durability.
Okay.
And that's it for the changes thus far. And they made micro adjustments to have these like cards offering rates significantly reduced. I'm not going to list all of them, but it's basically if you just go down kind of like the
Yeah,
15
it's
or
literally
so
it's
best.
their
Yeah.
15 highest win rate cards, which does
Hmm.
not perfectly match up with our 15 highest rated cards because one, we're
But
rating from the perspective of a top player, not like the average. But it's like actually really close. Like
it's really
there's like
close.
three
Yes.
cards that position swapped. I think
Yep.
we'll call it. I'm gonna call it the most surprising card. It's not really that surprising, but the card that we rate the lowest that they excluded, because it was apparently doing like really well, is the which one was it? Why am I not seeing it? Do I not have this turned on?
Hmm.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay.
Never mind. Is Furious Felfin part of the list?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think that's the lowest.
All right. Yeah.
Furious Felfin, and
Yep.
we're gonna raise that by some point, so it'll look better on the list. So I think that's right, but because that has to do with the hero power trigger for Demon Hunter.
Hmm.
Okay. If you're wondering how that actually impacts the tier list, these nerfs, some of them don't impact it too much. Like I-Beam went down by 12 points from like a 145 to a 133. So it may seem like a pretty big nerf to nerf it a mana, but it really wasn't. Imprisoned Antien, like it gets offset a bit by the imprisoned changes, so it in total only went down by 14 points. On the other hand, Skull of Gul'dan and Adarachi Warblades both dropped 30 points because those are pretty significant changes.
Those are pretty significant changes, definitely.
Especially Adarachi Warblades. Like when I see that card used against me now, I don't even care to like. There was one game where I literally like my opponent used it on me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna ooze this." Like it just didn't
No,
do enough for me to even ooze it.
no. Losing that durability is huge for the Warblades. Because especially when you have increased durability with lifesteal, that makes that weapon so much better. So you decrease the durability. It makes it so much worse just because of the lifesteal on top of it, which was a bonus. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at with those. So Blizzard just came out on day one and was like, look, these aren't perfect fixes, but we want to fix the issue and also the huge amount of complaints that were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved very fast to implement these. And it certainly did its job. The win rates for Demon Hunters are quite manageable now. In standard, it's not even 53%. In arena, it's a little bit above 55%, which, as we stated before, not anything special. So, yes, very good. Unfortunately, it's something that we see quite a lot in the arena. So, you shouldn't be that surprised that A class is 55%.
So one thing to note is that all the win rates for Demon Hunters in the last couple days have actually gone up. It
Mhm.
dipped really hard after the nerfs, and in constructed for a while it was not the number one class, but it all has been going back up. So the Demon Hunter players, like people, Merps had mentioned before that if you're playing against a Demon Hunter, you're adjusting more to what the cards do. But the Demon Hunter players are also adjusting to like be better Demon Hunter players as people figure out how to play the Demon Hunters, right? Like they're no longer looking at their cards like I did and not knowing how to play the card, right? So like I'm a better Demon Hunter player now than I was before. Like even not counting like that I have like learned more about the class. I just like know what cards do now at least. Whereas before, I guess I knew what they did, but like in practice it didn't connect. So Demon Hunter win rates you at one point was like 45.5% on HS replay. And it's gone back up to 40. Sorry, it was 44.5%. It's gone back up to 45.3%. So
Wait, what? Demon Hunter?
yeah,
45?
it was 44.5% at some point, like 2 days ago.
You mean 50? What 54?
Yeah,
Like, what?
54. Sorry, 54.
Okay, you kept on saying, and now I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
are
my
you
bad.
gonna catch?
Nope,
Okay,
did not catch it. Need to play it in Hearthstone and realize my mistake
Yeah,
before I can learn.
yeah,
54.5%, and now it's 55.3%.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And also, something that's going to naturally happen with the meta is that fewer and fewer people are going to play Demon Hunters. Like, it's the new class, everyone's playing it, but like 3 weeks from now, they cannot do any more changes to the meta. They will, but even if they don't, you're just going to see the fewer Demon Hunters meta. All right, so that's what's happening in the meta right now. But the meta is going to change a lot, so there's no need to dig in too deep. Generally, if you're not a demon hunter, you need enough stuff to stop demon hunters, whether they are taunts or board clears, and hopefully some heals. And after that, you're going to mostly be concerned with non-demon hunters. And all non-demon hunters do roughly the same thing, which is survive to the late game against demon hunters and then have a lot more cards. So what you want to be focused on, as we said in the Ashes of Outlands previews and everything, is card advantage. You want to have a lot of card advantage. You want to have big cards. Like, once you have the correct amount of curve, or even if you're like missing one curve, like curve matters so little now. Even if you're missing, like let's say you have 3 4 drops instead of the normal 4, and then you get offered a Yeti versus a whatever. What's that 10 mana 7/7 called?
Scrapyard Colossus.
Scrapyard Colossus. Yes. So if you get offered a Yeti or a Scrapyard Colossus and you're missing one 4 drop, but otherwise your curve is solid, I would take the Scrapyard Colossus. They're rated the same on our tier list. But I would go for that, not because Scrapyard Colossus is like better, but just because I'd rather be missing one part of my curve than not have like enough big cards to win over my opponents in the end.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's what we've seen, and good players like Tachi have posted on Arena HS with exactly that idea. It's like he's just sort of giving up um, curve and just drafting really big stuff because the games will go long. This is sort of an arms race that people are doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
and you do need that extra beef in order to win.
Yep. All right. Let's so that's kind of the on the ground practical take on Demon Hunters and on the Ashes of Outlands meta. Now let's go to something more fun. I'm going to pose a question to you, Merps.
Mm.
Demon Hunters, good or bad? This is not a card good bad. This is a class good bad. Not whether they're good, like as in you're going to get a high win rate with them, but whether they are generally a positive into Hearthstone Arena, or if they are a scourge upon Hearthstone Arena that will be very difficult to balance and, be a
Well,
problematic for here and out.
here's the thing. Like, if you're just talking about like when, because there's so many factors that go into
Yeah.
a question like that. Because does it make balancing harder? Well, yeah, adding any class will make it harder, right? If they made, because Demon Hunters are trend towards tempo and aggression. Even if they made Super Priest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they made Super Priest, it would make it harder as well, just in the opposite direction. So, but overall, look, adding a new class is good. I think a lot of people will say that it was needed. So my feedback in terms of good slash bad, a lot of it comes down to just a new class in general. Because I think it's unfair right now to say, is Demon Hunter good or bad? Because as we've seen with what Blizzard does, class identity isn't really a thing for a lot of these classes. It's like what we see Demon Hunters right now is not really what we will see Demon Hunters as a year or two from now with all the
Mm-hmm.
expansions, with all of the sets. That's just the way it is. Like every single class has had multiple identity kind of changes in terms of how they play, what sorts of decks are good. So I kind of cannot, or I guess I kind of refuse to just be like, well, is the idea of Demon Hunters good or bad? I cannot possibly anticipate what they will do with Demon Hunters. Right now, it is purely aggressive. It's a very tight package because this is
Mm-hmm.
this is the most cohesive demon hunters will ever be
Yep.
in terms of their entire package, right? This is it. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, adding a new class is great in terms of getting people interested, opening up new doors, kind of making matchups more interesting, and etc. It makes balancing the entire game a lot harder, but that's I'm not going to take that into consideration. I'm just going to say, well, you guys signed up for this. But no, it's a pure positive. It's a pure positive adding another class because it extends the game. It gives people additional options. Yes, it makes things a little bit harder. Right now, we're going through some turbulence in terms of the launch, but there is no negative in terms of introducing any single brand new class that with the proper amount of work can't be overcome.
Yep.
So pure positive, pure positive.
Okay. I agree with it for the game overall. I think
Yeah.
in arena it is going to be, so first of all, because of the power of the hero power, even taking like setting aside the cards, because of the power of the hero power, it is just not going to be able to be balanced if you're going to give demon hunters anywhere near the amount of class cards that other classes get. We already saw this with rogue, where rogue is like barely a class nowadays. Like
Yeah.
rogue is a hero power with
Mhm.
a couple of class cards.
And I think that's what they'll do with demon
Yeah,
hunters.
they
Just
have to do that. They have no
yeah.
other options. And with demon hunters, it's going to be even worse because they have even better hero power. And their overall class card set is top of the line, like along with rogue, possibly even better than rogue. Um, so I think you're just going to end up like inevitably. This may not happen even next week with the nerfs, but give it another few months, you're going to end up with a demon hunter that every single expansion. Like, when's the last time you were excited to play rogue in any expansion?
I mean, when was the last time I was super excited to play any class? I don't exactly remember being super excited to play any class. I just liked playing and figuring out the meta in general.
Okay,
So you're kind of asking the wrong person. But
fine. Okay.
here's the thing. On the flip side, it's just like because if we're talking about rogues, right, which are
Mhm.
almost always, very, very powerful at the beginning because they are micro adjusted, and then they just are micro adjusted um, to infinity, right? Is that problematic for me in terms of this cycle that keeps on happening? I don't think so. And I think the game will be worse off if we didn't have rogues like that. And the thing about Blizzard games is such that you just have to kind of accept something will be OP at any given point because that's just how Blizzard sort of operates. Now, there's acceptable levels and unacceptable levels, and I think we complain a lot about the unacceptable levels.
Yeah, but demon
But
hunters aren't going to always be OP. They're not going to do that. They're just going to nerf it to
mhm,
rogue.
yeah, but it's like, would I be disappointed if in all of those metas Rogue never existed? Yeah, I would. Like, I would rather take the lumps and have this other class rather than just not have this class at all, right? So look, we might have really, really bad metas. We might have worse metas than this one. Who knows? And that's a balance issue, right? But I can't factor in. It's like, no. I'm going to assume that they're going to do a terrible job balancing, which they might. But the idea of a new class and the benefits of spicing things up, having alternatives, just making things more interesting, I think is well worth it. Because I am looking back, I'm like, yes, you're gonna have this rogue issue all over again. But I would never, in any of those metas,
Mhm.
want Rogue to have been gone, right?
Right.
Because when that's gone as well, it's like you always sort of complain about the next thing, and it's also why it's like I'll complain about MCT, but we cut it off at like a certain point, right? It's like for the Death Knights, we cut it off as well, and it's one of those things where like if you're gonna remove every single card because it's problematic, you can't do that. So you have to draw a hard line somewhere, right? And for
Mhm.
me with classes, it's pretty high. Like I think
Right.
the benefit of having a class there is so huge. It's so huge. So for me, that benchmark is extraordinarily high. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, well, okay, hunters were 60%. Hunters are super problem. I mean, hunters are problematic, right?
Hmm.
Like in terms of their hero power, I would say the hunters for many years, and maybe even still not, the hero power is just really limiting in terms of you're either going to make him extremely overpowered or that hero power does absolutely nothing. And this is why you saw Blizzard going away from the hunter hero power period. And now they're like beast generation, sort of like doing all of this weird stuff. Um, so yeah, like I understand what you're saying, but I'm just like, no. New class trumps everything.
Okay, that is fair. I certainly don't want the Demon Hunter to go away either.
Yeah.
But I just want to warn people: this is the most fun you're gonna have with Demon Hunter. It's gonna be nuked to hell flavor wise in the arena. Uh, if not next week, then at some point in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to see a lot of neutrals, right? And
Yep.
then the days in which you were just like, oh man, I really want to play with Flame Reaper, it's like, oh man, good luck getting that, buddy. Um, yeah, so just like with Rogue, you're going to play with the hero power, a lot of neutrals, and maybe you'll have like an Eviscerate in your deck, and you're like, oh boy, I hope I get to play my Eviscerate one day.
That's Rogue.
uh,
It's so terrible to play Rogue right now. Like I'm just playing the
yeah.
class and just it always feels bad because I played with Rogue when it was actually a thing. And there were actually cards that you were allowed to play. And I did things that I considered rogue things. So basically the things you're doing right now that you consider demon hunter things, you're not gonna be able to do any of it
Yeah.
in some time. So that's coming. And that's gonna be, I mean, we'll see. Enjoyable while it lasts, right? Like right now, everyone's picking Demon Hunter whenever it's offered. Keep doing it. Blizzard will nerf it soon, and I mean, even after Blizzard nerfs it, I feel like people are gonna like to play the new class. It's also just like it's a fun class to play. Like
Yeah.
even beyond the whole OP-ness of everything and the fact that I feel like very little of what I do in the game as Demon Hunter actually matters. Like for Demon Hunters, I could basically see like you can screw up. Like you can make terrible decisions. You actually have a decent amount of decisions to make because your hero power is so flexible. But like such a high percentage of them are so clearly objectively wrong compared to other classes. That it's just like it's such a low bar to get to the level where you're like, I've done everything I can as Demon Hunter. Now it's just where where the cards fall, where the draw order falls, whether my opponent has that stuff or not has that stuff, where my RNG falls. Um, like I really think when you get like if you're at a place that is 5 wins per run or higher, and you have played the Demon Hunter a number of times, that you like are familiar with all their cards and stuff, I think Demon Hunter is almost. I don't know if it's as brainless as Paladin, but it's almost as brainless as Paladin. I feel like it's more brainless than Priest, which is saying something.
All right. Well,
Um,
that's that.
yep. All right. So yeah, I think that's it. I think we've covered everything that happened in Arena for the week.
That's true.
Merps, why don't you update us on Battlegrounds?
All right. Well, Battlegrounds, nothing changed. The new 4/4 Murloc is here. So we have Felfin Navigator. It's a tier 3 unit. 4/4 gives the rest of your Murlocs +1/+1. Nothing changed with Murlocs. I don't know. Look, man, if you think that changed anything with Murlocs, you are just plain flat out wrong.
See, I thought
Don't.
that changed things with Murlocs, and I was
Nope.
flat out wrong, and I lost like 300 to 400 MMR. I gained it all back when I stopped playing Murlocs. But but yeah,
Nope.
yeah, it does
It
not. It's not
changes.
enough to make your mid game any more viable, really.
It changes absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, we are still under the tyranny of dictator Millhouse Manastorm. He is still the king of Battlegrounds. And unfortunately, you're going to have lobbies with double Millhouse because of Sir Finley Mergleton as well. But look, it is still very possible to consistently climb and to win. I'm still doing pretty decently, climbing at a consistent pace in Battlegrounds. By far, the most important skill these days is to scout early, scout
Hmm.
often, not to necessarily win your next matchup, but really to just get a great idea of where you are uh, on the totem pole of the lobby and what are your chances for getting number one. Because the days in which you are able to consistently get number one through just having good play, those are gone because there's so many high rolly classes. And also with the four hero choices, you rarely see bad classes anymore. And all the heroes in the lobby tend to be tempo oriented. So it's just an arms race. It's a huge smackdown between everyone. And what ends up happening is you need to identify as early as possible. Can I continue to level, tier up to 5 and then 6? Try to get the Mama Bear Beast comp. Try to get the Cow Ghost Dragon comps. Try to get the Brand Murloc comps, or am I going to be one of the people that sticks on tier 3 and tier 4 to either build that Divine Shield comp or Soul Juggler comp, just et cetera, et cetera. The earlier you identify that, the better you're going to, the faster you're going to climb, the better your game experience is going to be. Now, is that healthy for the game? I don't really think so, just because of how
It's
Millhouse is.
definitely
So
not healthy for the game.
it's definitely not. Well, here's the thing, right? Like a lot of times by 8 gold, I see where I'm at, and because I've been chunked down by Millhouse, I see how well Millhouse is doing. I see how well like Yag is doing. I see how well Rafam is doing, and I'm like, all right, well, the best I can do is go for a tier 4 mech comp or tier 4 Divine Shield comp. Maybe if I find a juggler, hard switch to jugglers, and for a good amount of games that I play, I need to give up on any thought of being in the top two, and I need to try to sneak
Oh,
into
that's
the fourth or third
100% of the
spot.
games I play.
It shouldn't be 100% of the games that you play. Then you're doing it incredibly wrong.
I mean,
But
that's why I'm climbing very slowly at 9.5k. I think I'm
yeah.
9.6 something k now, but I'm climbing really slowly because I never get first these days.
Okay,
Um,
well,
because
that shouldn't
to
be
get first,
correct
you
as
need like
well.
Murlocs or like I think it's just
Dragons,
dragons or Murlocs. So if I don't get a
Divine Shield,
Caligos,
Divine
um,
Shield, and you can go. Wait, you don't go. You never go Caligos,
no, I do, but you have to get a Caligos to go Caligos. I just don't end
right?
up getting a Caligos.
Well, you have to set yourself up for that. But anyways, yes. So games a lot of times tend to be like, uh, you might have an hour long span where you play like 2 games or 2 to 3 ish games, and in all of those games, you never really had a chance at number one. And it depends, there's still a lot of skill involved, and a lesser skilled player probably goes like seventh. A really skilled player gets like third, but third might have been the absolute highest,
Yeah,
like
see,
a
I think
world
I'm
class
really
player
good
can
at
get.
that stuff, and I'm less good at taking advantage of opportunities where you could possibly get first. I'm like either not aware that it's like there, or I try it and I fail miserably a higher percentage of times that I hit it than I should.
Hmm.
I don't know. Uh, but yeah, I mean, Battlegrounds is still fun. But if you're worried about like if you're thinking about like, oh my god, how dead is Arena? Arena's dead in terms of like new content or whatever, but they're clearly still like adjusting stuff here and there, right? Like the
They're
offering
keeping it
rates,
alive,
the
yeah.
offering rate stuff that they made adjustments for in the arena, they didn't have to do that. The old Blizzard would have 100% just said the following line: "Well, we nerf 4 cards, for constructed, but they're also 4 of the most problematic cards in arena also, and we're gonna wait and see." What the stat impact is, and then micro adjust it when we have enough stats for our, algorithm to micro adjust. That's 100% what the old Blizzard would have done, rather than on day one to spend actual resources while they're dealing with this whole overall Demon Hunter issue, to spend specific arena resources on the arena to be like, which cards do we adjust down by how much, to make sure like all the paperwork or whatever internal stuff like gets through. And we're in like coronavirus time, so there's like some inefficiency that just like gets built into on top of that. So it's been an incredible response by Blizzard for the arena. Whereas if you look at Battlegrounds, because there's no Demon Hunter at Battlegrounds and what they're focused on is Demon Hunters, but how long has Millhouse been in the game in this state? That's completely warping the game in a way that nobody likes. And that the fix could be as easy as just taking Millhouse out of the pool for a little bit while they actually fix Millhouse.
That
Right?
really is, yeah. Like all they have to do is just take Millhouse out, and all the other heroes are like fine. Millhouse just warps it, and it's really not just Mill. Here's the thing: if it was just Millhouse, I think it would be okay-ish. Finley pushes it over the edge
Yeah.
because
Double
now
Millhouse. Double
double
chances of
Millhouse,
Millhouse.
yeah, double Millhouse lobbies are incredibly oppressive. You're that is just disgusting. But I will say it's one of those things where people are complaining a lot about the current meta, but there is still a reason that I prefer playing BGs to Arena in terms of the swings and the skill testing that I feel, right? Like that is on display in BGs, I think is still like it doesn't feel great that in a lot of games you just can't get number one, right? Like people want to get number one, but if you, especially if you come from a poker background or
Yeah.
something, like
You're not supposed
that
to always be able to
you're
get
not
number one.
supposed to, right? You're really not
In
supposed to.
fact, in most games, you're not even
You're not
supposed to.
supposed to,
It's
right?
weird if you can in most games.
Yeah.
Like at that point, it's
Um,
almost too skill testing.
yeah, well, BGs is definitely like poker is much more fickle. It's extraordinarily fickle. Especially if you're playing like no limit, right?
Yeah.
Because your results
No limits, sit
are,
and go. 8 players.
yeah, your results are magnified. Like playing BGs is the smallest limit poker that you can play. So even your losses can't be that big, right? Like it's just the way it is. And also BGs, you have much more sort of inflection points for you to show skill and for you to be rewarded for skill. So it's that aspect that I think if you just take that perspective, um, I have a ton of fun with it. I think it's still in a great spot. Millhouse is obviously problematic. I don't want it in the game, but do I still enjoy being able to turn like a seventh or eighth place game into a top three game? Yes. And I get rewarded for that, right? Like that's a swing of approximately because if I get eighth place, it's like minus 110. If I get third, it's like plus 30-ish. So that's a swing of like almost 150 points here and there.
Yeah, but that's all the same in the arena too, right? Like most people will take the deck that you go
I
seven
mean,
wins
yeah,
with and
there's
get like 3 wins.
yeah, sure, but it's a much slower. It's like in terms of the number of decisions, and then in terms of the number of decisions per minute that matter, impacting everything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. But that's just how
BG's is,
Battlegrounds is constructed. I think
yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
now, Battlegrounds is, and I'm not comparing to Arena right now because Arena's in a weird state right now too. But like I don't think either Battlegrounds or Arena is in a good place right now. And
I would
I
say
think they're
that
they're gonna make changes in this patch on Friday. This like upcoming Friday that'll make Arena go into a much better place. That's the micro adjust patch that actually balances stuff, at least by win rates. And they have something in BG, like for BG in that patch as well, and I will be damned if it doesn't have something to do with Millhouse. So that's coming. But I think the BG meta has been. And I've been playing a lot of BGs in the last few weeks, and I think the BG meta has been like really crappy since they allowed for the uh, 4 choices of hero selection compared to
I
30.
agree. I think the four hero patch, during that time, that's when it really um sort of fell
Yeah,
apart
because that
in
was the same
terms of
place that they added Finley, right? Or like they
yeah.
added Finley like very like a few days before that or something. But it was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it was
yeah.
in
It
the
was it
same
was very
general
close.
area.
And before that patch, so the pre whatever that patch was, Dragon meta, I thought was the best meta we
Yes,
we had.
totally agree. That was
That
such a good Battlegrounds meta.
it was very fair. I thought it didn't feel anywhere near this oppressive.
Hmm.
And to be fair, like I think in terms of the amount of fun I'm having, I'm still having tons of fun. But yeah, like with the and it sort of just goes to show how responsive they have been and how many changes we have seen with Battlegrounds in such a short period of time. But yeah, that meta was incredible, the best we had ever seen. And this meta, I would say, it's better than Demons. Just Demons was so boring, right? Like it's
Yeah.
better than Demons
I mean,
by far.
it's better
Like
than Demons, Murlocs. It's better than a lot of
it's
prior
better than
metas, but they've
Murlocs.
definitely taken like a very huge step backwards from what was a very good meta.
I
And
agree. I agree.
I think the bigger issue is not that they took the step backwards. It's in beta. Sure, they're starting to kind of charge for it, but like it's in beta. It's that you talk about how quickly like they respond to Battlegrounds. This is such a slow response. This is like a response, so slow that the arena community would even be like, "Hey, Blizzard, what are you doing?" Right? Much less that is for Battlegrounds. And the reason why this is slow is like, and arena players know this very well. Whenever anything else is going on, arena gets deprioritized. Arena's only prioritized right now because Ashes of Outlands is an expansion and it's coming out. Demon Hunters is a new class and it's coming out, and so they're like very attuned to getting all this new stuff fixed. And because this huge thing is coming on, it's pushed Battlegrounds to the sides. They weren't working on Battlegrounds for like the week before release or the 2 weeks before release. They're not working on Battlegrounds this week. Like they'll come up with whatever the next step is, and it would have taken a 3 week turnaround to when they could have adjusted things. Whereas because their attention is focused on Ashes of Outlands, the Demon Hunter issue had a 24-hour adjustment, right? And Arena, like I think surprisingly, had like an additional adjustment in that same time period just for the Arena. So like from a Battlegrounds perspective, it's like I don't Blizzard is surprised. It's really surprising to me that Blizzard allowed Battlegrounds to slide so much on their priorities list for Ashes of Outlands. And
Yeah.
I think it like given all the attention that was placed on Battlegrounds, like before this, it very much feels like Blizzard wants to make a point that like standard constructed is really what Hearthstone is about, and Battlegrounds is a side piece, and that's its role. Like it's going to be a side piece that gets more attention than the arena, like everything else. But I don't see like this is like if you're from a perspective that you want Battlegrounds to be like priority 1B to Constructed's priority 1A, like I don't think that at least that's not what Blizzard's indicating. I think it's
Yeah,
it's very
they haven't
clear that
indicated
it's
that.
tier 2.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, they definitely haven't indicated that yet. I mean, it's kind of a mystery what their end goal is with that because they've started the monetization process with the
Mm-hmm.
Tavern Pass and everything.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if Blizzard anticipated Battlegrounds being as big as it is right now. Because I would say that in terms of
Mm-hmm.
viewing, in terms of its popularity, it's definitely number one by far, right?
Right.
Like people, for example, like Crip, he's back to Battlegrounds already. A lot of popular constructed players have just
Yep.
moved on to Battlegrounds, period.
Yeah. And
And
that's because auto battlers have a much bigger viewership share than TCG players ever did.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very relatable. It's very, easy to get into. And I would just say is a lot of a lot more fun, right? In terms of the skills necessary for that. And if you're looking to sort of master constructed, it's got a lot of skills that I don't think the general population finds fun.
really
Like,
memorizing every possible combination of what your opponents can have and draw, and then keeping track of every single
yeah,
card,
yeah,
likely with a
exactly.
tool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right? Or like, shifting in terms of like a meta shift will be like, oh shoot, they're running one copy instead of two copies, which is a huge
It's a
change, right?
huge
In
change. It's a
constructed.
ridiculous
That
change.
that
Yeah.
is a ridiculous change that impacts everything. But more people will find that just like
Mm-hmm.
WTF rather than fun. And Battlegrounds is just, I mean, universally, it's just really, really fun. So yeah, I am very curious what their ultimate plan is for something like Battlegrounds because you are absolutely correct. They continue to push Constructed. I'm sure Constructed still makes them, a lot of money. They have these tournaments and everything. I don't know if we're gonna have the World Championships at BlizzCon this year. Who knows what's gonna happen? But it would, once again, just be a missed opportunity for them to look at Battlegrounds and be like, yeah, people like it, but there's nothing really here. There's everything here. Like this is really huge. Auto battlers people love, and they just captured Magic in a bottle here. And I really do hope that they continue to do so, like do more with it than just update it with new cards and everything.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will, but I think I'm with you in that I don't think they have a plan, and I don't think they scrambled fast enough to come up with a plan. And I think by now they have a plan, but they need to they need the time to actually like fully implement it and stuff, and that's why it's still in beta. But I'm hoping that Battlegrounds takes, I'm just hoping that Blizzard stops being like constructed is 1A, 1B, and 1C, you know? And
Yeah, right.
just there has to be a limited mode that's the 1B or 1C. And even though Battlegrounds is not the perfect limited mode, I still am much I'm much higher on the unreleased game mode that's coming in August than I am on Battlegrounds. But like they just have to put this like modes package together. Um, we've been looking for it for so long as arena players, right? So and it seems pretty clear that the future is not in the arena. So I just want him to get to the
Yeah,
future already.
that's part of the reason I don't play Arena that much anymore. We can talk about the swings, we can talk about the OP cars and everything. Part of the real reason is I just don't see much of a future there, and why should I put that much of my time in it, right? And beyond that, it's like I don't know what the future is for Battlegrounds, but if I were a betting man, am I going to sort of bet on them, putting more money, putting more time, putting more effort into Battlegrounds than Arena? Oh, heck yeah. So I'm playing Battlegrounds, and like at the same time, it's about competition, right? And I would say, we certainly don't have as many arena players now as we did when
Yeah.
the game started. But past that as well, a lot of the good constructed players have moved on to Battlegrounds. I like being there to be able to challenge them. I like being able to face top players a lot. Like I've faced
See,
Victor, Collins, Dog,
we're so
Fred,
different in
all of
that
them.
you like facing them. I just get really anxious at facing them. I would much prefer to beat up on noobs, which is why I like the arena setup. Totally honestly, like I like to play good players, but I don't necessarily need to like be number one or play the number one. I never have a mentality. Like people think I'm a competitive person, and I am generally, but not for like number one of like the world. Like that's like a ridiculous go. And this is coming from someone who I've been the winning team on an arena tournament. I've been the number one like score getter on an arena tournament. Like yes, it's nice, but that's never like the explicit goal. When last night I faced Victor in a lobby in Battlegrounds towards the end of the night, and I was like, oh damn, I'm in a lobby with Victor. I didn't really think much about it, and then it got to the end, and I'm like, hey, I wonder what my opponents are, because I don't start scouting until the very end. That's how I play.
God, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, hey, Victor's still around. It's me, Victor, and this one other guy, and I was facing a ghost, and I'm like, oh, Victor's the Rafam. Oh, he's doing really well. He's gonna win this. I don't have a shot. And Victor's gonna take out this guy too because he's so much stronger. And then so I lost to the ghost and Victor beat the other guy, so Victor just got number one, and that was really good for Victor. But I also am just happy to get out of the way and let Victor take number one. And my comp had no chance against his. Like I said, it's really hard for me to get number one. I don't know. I'm climbing. I'm getting better scores than I get worse scores. But number one is like I see the number one comps. I'm like, how do you get a Calico so freaking early? Like, how does that even work? I don't know. Like outside of Millhouse being able to pull that off, and Victor does it consistently with Rafam, and I see him pull it off, but it's just like I
Yeah.
can't like replicate it with anywhere near that same like degree of precision, right? Like I just like fail and
Mhm.
die quicker so often.
And a lot of it comes down to just that choice that he made on 6 gold, 7 gold, 8 gold that not many players would have made, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
just snowballs.
Yeah.
Like it completely snowballs. So yep.
Mm-hmm. No. Yep. Whereas you don't have to do any of that if your lobby is full of noobs. Like if
Well,
you're in an arena
no.
lobby, you don't have to do any of that. You will never have to do any of that because even in your 12 win games, you're facing like very good players slash players with very good decks, but you're definitely not facing like the same thing that you'd get in in a top battlegrounds lobby, which at 9.5k ish, I'm very frequently in the very top battleground lobbies. Like that's not. You know, whereas in arena, I could be like 11-0 and be in a place with where my opponent's skill levels is so far, on average, so far below the top battleground lobbies.
Yeah, definitely. You can still face potatoes at 11 wins.
Yeah. And even the
By
good
far.
players you face at 11 wins may just be like good players. You know, 8K players in Battlegrounds are very good players. It may not feel
Yes.
that way if you're like sitting there at like 11K, but they really are. Like they understand the game, they make good decisions, they evaluate shit, they like scout, they do all this stuff. They do so much stuff I don't do.
Yes, they do. They do.
But
That
that's
is
always
true.
how it is. I don't do a lot of things that people who are not as successful as me do. But I'm picking
Like
up scouting
shower.
more.
Yeah,
Like
it's
shower. I
crazy.
shower,
Shower.
okay? I shower quite frequently. I just don't use soap. Let's get this straight. All right. My showering is
All right.
totally fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
it for us. This has gone on pretty long. Thank you to everybody who subbed to us on Twitch. Thanks to all the patron support, all the donations. We got quite a few new high roller patrons this month. Thank you
Ooh.
guys so much.
Thank you
We'll give you guys
guys.
individual shout outs at the end of the month after we collect your money.
Yeah. Give us
But
that money first.
it's good to know. It's good to hear, like the people who are like, "Oh my god, like so glad you guys still do arena content," and that's why we still do arena content. Like you can tell, Merps is like off the arena train, but he's still playing some arena, so he knows what's like generally going on in the meta. We're still keeping the tier list updated. Like Merps does a lot of work on the tier list too for card evaluations, and we're keeping this going and investing a lot into this just because it's the arena community and we know we're a pillar of it. And I've been playing arena almost exclusively since the expansion came out, and like really Merps was talking about how much more like interesting it is to have a demon hunter, how positive it is. I
Yeah.
really enjoy playing the demon hunter. It's just not good for balance, but Blizzard will get to a better spot in it later. Like for now, it's arena's more enjoyable now in this meta, I think, than it was in the Twin Tyrant meta. And yes, I know Twin Tyrant is still in this meta, but you guys see how much less frequently you see Twin Tyrants? No offering bonus makes such a freaking big difference. But yeah, and I'm frankly very excited at where the arena is going to be. Much more excited than I thought I was going to be. Once they actually get the micro adjust in and do another round of Demon Hunter nerfs, because it's not going to be a meta that I like from a subjective perspective, because it's going to be a very slow meta. But I think it's going to have a good shot of being like the most balanced meta you can have that also has large swings. Because if you have a meta that has really large swings and it's aggressive, then you're just rolling the dice always, right? Like, so
Sure.
if you have a really swingy meta, like this one has to be because of Year of the Dragon, you actually need it to be slow. So you have more chances to swing back. You can't have it just like end period once one swing happens. So like I think there is a good chance, I would say like 66 to 75% chance that after they get everything done, this meta will actually be balanced and of the most skill you can have in a high swing meta. That's not to say it's going to be one of the higher skilled metas that we've seen in the past, but given the absolute disaster of a meta that was all in the making with all the stuff that's happening, I feel like this is like salvageable with like the right micro adjusts, and just things frankly out of Blizzard's control about human behavior and about how these cards actually end up working together. So I don't know. I'm excited about next Friday's patch. Okay.
We'll see.
Well, that's it from us. We will also remember the Lightforge tier list will also get an update probably sometime next week or at latest by the end of the weekend. Until then, this is Adwicta.
This is Merps. Bye.